Hey Gail, so just going to look over the game against OP last year. I think there's a lot of good information that we can pull from it. If you actually go back and watch the game, we actually started the game really well. We went 1-0 down to a set piece and then equalised, and it was actually a pretty even first half. So I would encourage you to go and watch it just so you can kind of get a feel for the game. But I did want to highlight a couple of things that we did well, and then a couple of things that we're probably going to have to be aware of this weekend. I'm going to be jumping around a little bit here, but the themes will be the same, so you'll hear a lot of the same things. This first one here is just to show kind of when we were organised defensively that they really struggled to break us down early. All right, so here's a good little clip here where we kind of get in a good compact narrow shape. Nathalie Lemens is able to jump out and win that one. And there's a couple of really good examples of us being really disciplined in our shape and stopping them from playing through and ultimately end up picking the ball off. Here's another one here where they're happy to swing it around the back. If you stop it right now, you'll notice we have a really good shape. In this game, we were playing a 3-4-3, all right, but options ahead of the ball really limited, balls into the centre of the field really limited, and really kind of forcing them to have to play back or to have to try and work their way out of situations kind of with individual skill. But we did a good job of preventing them from playing forward. When the ball went into the middle, we were able to pick that off. All right, we were able to force them and win the ball back. And again, there was plenty of opportunities where our press was good enough that we could go and steal the ball back. Nathalie Lemens again with some good work to go and win that ball back. So I got a few more clips for you. Again, real disciplined in our shape, compact, ready to jump and intercept passing lanes. Atlee on that one is able to intercept out, and we do a good job of keeping the ball after we win it back. Here again, we get Ali sliding across. We cut that ball off down the line pretty well. All right. And Ali's able to win that one back. Again, we recover into a good shape pretty quickly. We stop anything going through the middle of the field. Ali's working her way across to cut in. On this occasion, we just force them long. You know, they don't really see any passing opportunities forward. We end up forcing them long. And again, I think that just comes down to the fact that our shape is good in the middle of the field. And then one final one here again, a nice tight three. Nathalie Lemens is able to force the ball wide and then get a block on that pass down the line. So that's all within the first 10 minutes of the game, right? And obviously being able to keep that discipline throughout the game is tough. That's the mental part of it. That's dealing with that fatigue as it comes. But as you've seen there, when our shape is good, and I've said this before, when our shape is good, I think a lot of teams find this difficult to break down. So we're certainly going to have that discipline and that shape this weekend. I did want to highlight a few of the goals they scored. All right, so the first goal they scored was a header from a corner. This has been something we've struggled to deal with a little bit last season. All right, this ends up being, someone who just kind of beats their player to the spot at the back post. And OP are a team that gets a lot of crosses into the box, right? So whether it's set pieces or whether it's in open play, that's something we're going to have to be aware of this weekend. So here's their second goal. This makes it 2-1 to them. All right, our shape is actually fine. They're able to build out the other side, but at this point here, we have enough numbers behind the ball where you'd feel relatively confident, that we could deal with a cross into the box right now. The one thing we do have to be aware of is just making sure that we keep an eye on the players we're marking. Okay, so right now we're numbers up, but we just got to make sure we keep an eye on players as they make their way into the box. And as we get closer to the box, we also have to probably get a little bit tighter to players too. All right, the problem in this instance comes from these two players here. All right, and these are going to be the second runners in the box. You're going to have these two players making the first runs, and you're going to have the second players making a second run right now. So this is really probably Lucille and Nathalie's job. You could maybe argue that Jaden might be able to get back into this spot as well, but regardless of who it is, and we play with 3 in the middle now, so this should be a little bit easier to figure out, but regardless of who it is, we're going to have to be really disciplined about making sure we track runners into the box here, all right? Because again, as you'll notice, we deal with the first cross okay. Yes, she gets the ball, but she can't shoot, she can't get a shot off. But what we do have now is this player on the top of the box who's then able to get a layoff and ends up scoring. All right, so again, it's not just maybe tracking all the way back into the box and then, you know, trying to block the cross. You know, it's following those second layers of runners, and as you'll see with a couple of their other goals, they do get numbers into the box pretty well. One other aspect as well, I mean, if we can stop the ball getting into the box in the first place, that would be good. All right, so our outside backs, our outside midfielders, just being ultra disciplined and ultra aggressive in those 1v1 battles out wide. All right, but you'll see on this goal here, we get beaten a little bit too easily in the 1v1 situation to begin with, and then we get beaten on a second 1v1 inside the box. But again, as that cross comes in, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players inside the box. And then here's 2 of our central midfielders on the top of the box here. All right, so just a little bit more discipline to track those players into the box. Yes, we want our centre-backs and our outside backs to be aware of this, but, you know, they're outnumbered here. 1, 2, 3 versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, so the odds are in their favour, which you never really want inside your own box. Okay, so, you know, we'll let this one develop again. Lucille and Jade, I think you're the 2 central midfielders for us right now. You know, you can already see at this point, it's not a favourable position for us right here. So, tracking runners into box, making sure we get numbers inside the box, and that gives us a better chance to be able to clear, block, and just ultimately cut out those goals going in. Another example here of us getting beat in a 1v1 situation. So we get beat in the 1v1 here, and then we get beat 1v1 again. All right, and again, this now is it's a much easier cross for her. Again, we probably have more numbers inside the box at this point, but we're not tight enough. Okay, this player is open. This player is wide open, and these are the 2 players that end up combining to score. Just because we're not tight enough, we give those players too much time. That wasn't offside for those of you complaining. But again, you know, so that's 3 goals right now that have come from crosses. This one is from a set piece, which again we just failed to clear. You know, bounces inside our box. We just don't get tight enough. We don't do enough to stop the shot. You know, a little bit fortunate with the deflection, but again, just, you know, making sure that we make the first contact, try and get a clearance on the ball. And then the final goal of the game. This is pretty late in the game. This is probably like, I think, 4 or 5 minutes to go. So I understand we're probably pretty tired at this point. We played actually with 10 players. We had Callie sent off in this game, so we were a little bit tired. But, you know, hopefully we get to this point in the weekend with 4 minutes to go. We're still in the game, right? We're still trying to hang on to be it some kind of result. So you'll notice their energy. I think these 3 midfielders all end up making the box. And you'll notice that we just don't track runners into the box. So, yeah, we can put it down to, you know, a little bit of fatigue and whatever it might be. But this is their holding midfielder, I think, that scores arriving late in the box. And yet again, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versus 1, 2, 3 inside the box. All right, so again, this is something we'll talk about and we'll work on in training tonight. But we definitely have to be aware of this. You know, I think awareness is the first part, and then, you know, midfielders, so Lucille, Abby, AK, Stephanie. If you're playing in the centre of the field, Ali Ruiz, she'll probably do a little bit in there too. You're tracking those runners into the box. You're not giving them a moment's space. Centre backs, Cameron, Caroline, Addie. You're making sure that you're organising that in front. You're talking to your midfielders. You're trying to organise that. Aris, you can be talking about that too. So just to move on a little bit, in terms of the way we can build out, so they generally just leave the 1 striker up high. You know, they play pretty much a 4-2-3-1. So we should always be able to get one of our centre backs free. Okay, now what we can't get caught doing is what happened in this game, is where we just kind of take the first option we get, right? So we've played to the left here. Their centre forward is going to try and round off that run to force Gwen to stay to her left side. Okay, and we fall into this trap, and we have fell into this trap many times before, of trying to play down that side which the forward tries to give us. Okay, so what I would try and recommend, and again, it's something we've improved on this year, is being a little bit more patient. Maybe at this point, trying to draw this striker across and then trying to get ourselves out the other side. So whether that's bouncing to Lucille, who goes back to Aris, or bouncing to Lucille, who goes back to the other centre-back, or whether it's just Gwen trying to turn that corner, maybe look for a ball into a striker or a more central player. But what we can't do, and you'll see in this game it happens a few times, is we end up just playing down the side that they force us, right? Which, again, is playing to their hands. If they're forcing us that way, they're probably prepared to deal with something that way. All right, we play left again. Again, that striker rounds their run. They're not doing anything really, any fancy kind of block or any type of press. But the fact that they forced us to the left and we kind of fall into that trap again just makes it a little bit more difficult for us to get off that side, right? They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 all over on that side of the field. If we can figure out a way at this point to switch play, Caroline's got time, Ainsley's got time, our right winger probably has time. So again, just an opportunity to try and look and switch the side. One more example here, we play to the left, Callie gets it this time. And again, we're only looking the way that they're showing us, right? So going against the grain, if they show us to the left, trying to get that ball back across to the right side. If they show us to the right, again, trying to get the ball across to the left. And again, that doesn't have to be a longer pass, right? It doesn't have to be a longer central ball. This can simply be just between our two centre-backs and our holding midfielder, just playing a little triangle around their striker, okay? And just tiring that player out a little bit. And just not playing into their hands, so to speak. I'll finish with our goal. I think a good example of where we can probably hurt them a little bit. We go a little bit more direct, which we're definitely going to have to do at times. Jaden does a good job of holding the ball up, and then we do a good job in this situation of providing Jaden some options. We get runners in the box with Ali and Figs, and this ends up being a really good finish by Ali. Okay, so you look back at this game from last year, and you think we lost, 5 or 6-1. I can't remember what it was, but it looks like a pretty daunting task to go in there. But when you actually watch the game back, you realise that there's not that big of a gap, right? It was 2-1 when we went down to 10 men. When Callie got sent off, it was only 2-1 at that point. And as I showed you in the first half, there was plenty of good things in that game. And we've also shown that we've got goals in our team. We've improved our team from an attacking standpoint this year. We're definitely a much stronger defensive unit this year too, with the players we've added. So there's every reason we can feel optimistic about this weekend. But we do have to go in there being real disciplined. Again, we'll talk about the shape. We'll talk about kind of how we can defend those wide areas tonight. We'll work a little bit on our build out as well. But every reason to feel as though we can go and put a really good performance in this Saturday.